Welcome everyone to Cornell Cooperative Extension for our monthly consumer issue program. I'm Mike Danaher, an Assistant Attorney General with the New York Attorney General's Office. And we come out to Cornell Cooperative Extension on a monthly basis, the second Thursday of the month at 11 a.m. to discuss various consumer-related topics. Today's topics happens to be avoiding and resolving problems with motor vehicle purchases and repairs. Just as a advertisement, those of you that are here and those that are out in television land, we will be doing landlord and tenant next month, which is the second Thursday of September. And I want to let you know that within the last month or so, the whole area of landlord-tenant has just exploded. There's huge changes in the law in New York that impacts all different types of things, from the start of a lease all the way through ending leases and eviction proceedings as well. So I mention that to you to stay tuned, because if you've seen our show in prior episodes, which we've done landlord-tenant twice a year for the last 21 years, this changes the whole thing. So you can tune in, or more importantly, come and visit us so that we can have a nice crowd when we start talking about these issues. As I've mentioned in the past, sometimes there's things that I forget to mention that end up getting raised as questions, and that will then trigger my mind to say, oh yeah, I have to do that. So we encourage everyone to come. Big changes in the landlord-tenant area, and we're going to address those next month. But this month we're talking about avoiding and resolving problems with automobile purchases and repairs. We all know, those of you that have been out buying cars, that a vehicle purchase is probably, absent two others, purchasing your college educations or purchasing a home, the most expensive purchases that we have now are for cars. Cars are in the tens of thousands of dollars easily, and into the hundreds of thousands of dollars now for the really, really high-end vehicles. So it's a major purchase. And also, if you think about it, if you add up all the money that you've spent in purchasing vehicles over your lifetime, it could well total your greatest expense, even more than a house, or possibly even more than health care. It's very expensive. I know in our office we receive a large number of complaints related to the purchase and repair of motor vehicles. Those are two large categories of complaints that we have. But the interesting thing with a car purchase is, unlike our homes and unlike our cost of education, the purchase of a motor vehicle depreciates. The vehicle, the asset itself, depreciates very rapidly over a period of time. Unlike with our houses, we hope that they will increase in value the longer we own them. And our education's one of the most valuable amount of money that you can spend is for increase in education. Unfortunately, with motor vehicles, though, they're depreciable assets. They lose their value over a period of time. We spend a lot of money on those vehicles only to see their value depreciate over a period of time. Although the automobiles have become much more reliable over the last 20, 30, 40 years than they used to be. Consequently, they're more expensive. But also, we've come to expect the reliability more than what we might have in the past. And as a consumer, we're sitting there saying, if I'm shelling out this type of money, I want the thing to be able to, when I turn the key, or in this new modern age, when I push the button, I expect the thing to start it to run, to not be problems. I can go in and have my regular maintenance done, and I don't want to have a big problem with it, especially because I've spent so much money. However, we do run into potential problems, and our office receives complaint about those. And so we need to fall back to the adage that we've repeatedly used here at Cornell Cooperative Extension, and that is, although we have these expectations, we as consumers need to be good consumers and go into the transaction understanding everything. Now, I know if you're anything like me, you have no knowledge whatsoever about the internal workings of an automobile. You turn the key or you push the button, you expect it to work. Lights come on, first thing you do, down to the shop to have somebody figure out what it is. I can't figure it out. But there are certain things that we can do in getting into a automobile or getting into a transaction that we can exercise our rights as good consumers. There's more information out there now than there ever has been, so that we can at least increase the odds that we are going to have a favorable buying decision with the car. I know a lot of us can get confused about the numbers when they're thrown at us at the dealership, and we sit down to say, okay, yeah, I like that car, and they give us all these numbers, and this, we'll take this off and add this and net the value of your trade-in and all this stuff, and our head starts swirling and we get all confused. We have to be good consumers and understand everything that's going on with the transaction so that we don't get thrown off and we don't end up getting involved in a deal that we don't necessarily can afford or understand. So the first thing we need to do in the purchase of a vehicle is to understand the transaction before we even get into it. And the first thing that we should do is decide before you go in what it is that you need. And there's a distinct difference between what you need and what you want. We have to separate our needs and our wants, because all of us want the really nice, flashy car that is comfortable and will be responsive and have all these bells and whistles on it. But we may not necessarily need that. And we may not necessarily be able to afford that. So the best thing we can do is, before going in, kind of decide, what do you need? Even in broad terms. How big a car? What items do we need in it? What type of size of the vehicle do we need? What generally are we kind of looking for? Then, what can we afford? There are all types of websites out there now that can give you a good idea of what you can expect to pay for a vehicle with the needed items that you are looking for. So if you say, well, I need this, and I need that, and I need this type of gas mileage, and I want a hybrid, or I want an electric vehicle, or whatever things that you need or want, look it up. Look up cars or SUVs or trucks or whatever you're looking for with those types of options on it. If you're looking for a new car, you can go on and you can look and see what the suggested retail price is. If you're looking for a used car, you can figure out, one of the big factors that goes into the price of a used vehicle is the age of the vehicle and the amount of miles that are on it. More mileage, the less expensive. The older the car, the less expensive. Newer the car, the more expensive. Less mileage, the more expensive. And maybe you can get a framework and say, okay, I'm looking for a sedan. I really need 4 doors instead of 2 doors. I need it to make long distance travels, so it's got to be reliable. I don't want a lot of mileage on it. And then get an idea of what you might be paying for that vehicle. There's websites, I'll just throw out a few, Kelley Blue Book, Edmunds.com, where you can plug in the make, the model, the year, kind of mileage that you're looking for, and it can come back and give you an idea of what the prices are. And you actually also put your zip code in, so you can kind of give an understanding of what your market is asking for those particular prices, and then kind of do a framework. Then you can start looking. You can actually look on various dealers' websites to see what vehicles they have available and what the prices that they're offering at. So you could go down to the dealership and say, okay, I see you have 5 of these types of vehicles. I'd like to test drive them to see what's the price that you're looking for. And so that gives you a good head start. You can also ask the dealer. Many dealers will provide you with a Carfax report, which is the history of the maintenance to the best that they can determine, and whether or not the vehicle's been involved in any major accidents or other things. If the vehicle was fixed through somebody that's not affiliated with a Carfax, it might not show up. But if there was a major damage to the vehicle, it should show up there. Test drive the vehicle. See how it feels. See if there's any lights on it. See if it pulls to the right, pulls to the left. Check all of those things out. Give it a good look-see. You may be able to take your vehicle to a trusted mechanic to take a look through the vehicle to make sure that it is adequate. Then if you were able to sit down with the dealer and you decide, okay, this is a vehicle that I would like to purchase given the price is right, and you sit down, don't be rushed through the deal. Your negotiation ability stops when you sign the contract. Don't sign anything unless first all the numbers are in the document, and once in the document you understand each and every item that's there. You understand at the top the price that you are being charged. You understand any deductions from that price. How much are they giving you for your trade-in? Things like that. And that you also understand what the purpose is and the amount of any add-ons. I get a lot of complaints in our office about people who have signed the contract after the fact, who are complaining about the numbers that were in the contract. Make sure you get a copy of what you signed with all the numbers on it, so that you know that nobody changed anything after you left. And again, make sure you understand before you sign the deal. I've recently received a complaint from somebody that said, I paid too much to for the vehicle. They were supposed to charge me this much, but the contract says this much. Well, don't sign the contract if you don't understand all the numbers. That's crucial, because you're going to be hard-pressed to be able to say, well, I should have been charged a lot less, when you actually signed the contract and agreed to that price in the first place. Please understand the deal. If there's any financing involved, understand every item that is the finance involves. You should be getting as a part of your deal, and there's a financing, there should be a separate financing arrangement set forth on your agreement. How much you're borrowing, what's the interest rate on what you're borrowing, and how long is the payment going to be? Because all of those factors come into play when you determine what your monthly payment is. I cannot encourage you enough. Don't focus on just the monthly payment. because that monthly payment can be, for lack of a better term, manipulated by the factors. 3 factors that go into determining your monthly price are: 1, the total amount you're borrowing; 2, the interest rate you're being charged; and 3, the length of the loan. Because your monthly payment can be reduced if they stretch the loan out longer. The shorter the loan, the higher the monthly payment. And what ends up happening is, if you are just focused on the monthly payment, I've seen loans that are being stretched out for 8 years. Maybe they're going longer, I don't know. Because cars are holding their value longer, they can stretch the loan out longer. So your monthly payment might be able to be reduced from $300 a month to $270 a month. You go, wow, that's a $30 a month difference. That's great. Well, what ended up happening is, in all likelihood, you went from a payment period of a shorter time, so let's say it might be a 4-year loan, to a 7-year loan. If you actually do the mathematical calculation, if you stretch a loan out for 3 extra years, even though the interest rate's the same, even though the amount that you're borrowing is the same, you will in actual dollars be paying thousands of dollars more by stretching it out over that length of a period of time, only for the benefit of getting a maybe $30 reduction in price. As an overall out-of-pocket total dollar amount that you spend, you'd be much better off digging in and paying $30 more, $50 more, $100 more a month and getting a shorter term than you are by focusing on the monthly payment and stretching it over a longer period of time. So be a good consumer. Going into the transaction, figure out how much you can afford, and figure out more than just how much you can afford each month. Figure out how much you can afford in total. And when you figure that out, you can make the determination going in, saying, okay, I can afford to finance $15,000. That's it. And I want an interest rate of no higher than whatever it is, 4%, and over a course of 4 years. And you can actually go online and you can do the calculation. There are websites, I go to them quite frequently, where it's called an amortization table. If you go out and look in Bing or Google or whatever search engine you use, and you put in amortization table, it will come up with a result for your search, and you can click on it and you can plug in the amount. You can plug in $15,000 at 4% for 4 years. And if you hit the button, that amortization schedule will show you how much your monthly payment is. And you say, okay, I can afford that. So when you go in to do the deal with the car dealer, that's what the ground is. You say, this is what I can afford. What do you have? And then going in. You are a much better consumer in that regard than to go in and say, okay, I can afford $270 a month. That means a whole bunch of things to the car dealer. It means, okay, well, I can charge them a 7% interest if I stretch it over 7 or 8 years and still be able to fit within the $270 a month. Or I can sell them this particular car. What we're trying to do is arm the consumers with the knowledge of what they can do to be on a level playing field when they go in to do the deal. So do some research of the dealer's reputation. Decide whether or not you want to go through a dealer or whether you want to go through a private sale. Somebody selling the car in their front yard. There are advantages and disadvantages. In a lot of instances that you might be able to get a lower price if you go to a private individual simply because they don't have the office overhead and expenses that a dealer would have. However, the downside is that a private deal, there are no lemon law protections. So if you end up getting a lemon, there's no recourse to the private dealer under New York's lemon law. We'll go through the lemon law in a few minutes, but there are some significant advantages to having that in there. So do your homework, understand the numbers, understand the kind of vehicle you're going to get, examine the vehicle, look for blemishes on the car, look for any lights that might be on the dashboard. Make sure all of those things get taken care of before you enter into the deal. We have had a lot of complaints over a period of time. They say, well, the dealer told me they would fix that. And all of a sudden, it doesn't get fixed. So make sure that gets all taken care of because, as we talked about at the outset, your best negotiation occurs before you sign the contract. You can't start negotiating after the deal has already been signed. And take a test drive. Negotiate all of the terms. Understand that generally, with an automobile purchase, there are no 3 business days to cancel. There may be some give and take with that if there's some financing involved, because there may be some financing 3-day rights to cancel if you didn't have knowledge of what the terms of the financing arrangements were. But generally speaking, there is no 3 business days to cancel. Don't sign the contract and say, doesn't matter, I got 3 days to cancel, I'll get out of it. You generally do not have that, so make sure that you don't rely on that at that particular point in time. One of the things that you will be asked at the time that you purchase the vehicle, usually when you're dealing with a dealer, is that, do you want an extended warranty? Consider what the cost of that extended warranty is, and most importantly, before you agree to it, understand what is being covered and what you have to do in order to get the coverage. In some instances, the extended warranties require that you pay for the diagnostic. You get prior approval before repairs are ever done. Do a little research on the extended warranty company to see if that extended warranty company is somebody that you want to deal with. Understand where the repairs are to be performed. Can you go to any dealer, or do you have to go back to this dealer? Do you can only go to certain repair shops? Understand if you're the one that has to make the payment for the repair and then get reimbursement from the warranty company. Check all of those things out before signing on to that. Extended warranties can be quite expensive, so make sure you know what you're going to get for that. So if you go ahead and you end up purchasing the vehicle, hopefully you have done all your homework and that you end up driving off the lot and you're very happy and everything goes as planned. But what happens when it comes down to where you need to have your car fixed? Well, first of all, people understand, those especially who are not too familiar with vehicles, you do have to do regular maintenance on the vehicles. Make sure you do. One is it extends the life of the vehicle, so you want to make sure you do that. Oil changes, tire rotations, other things that might need to be done, filters, that sort of thing. But on top of it, make sure that when you do have work done, that you go to a reputable repair shop. One of the first things that you should look for is that the Department of Motor Vehicles in New York State licenses all sales facilities, repair facilities, and inspection facilities. So make sure they have big signs, big signs that are posted. There are green and white signs that would indicate that they're registered New York motor vehicle repair shop and a valid DMV registration certificate is inside the facility. Make sure that that they are licensed and that they have the certificate, because the New York State Department of Motor Vehicles has the authority to punish those licensed shops that are not complying with the law and that are doing adequate repairs. They have actual mechanics or former mechanics, the Department of Motor Vehicles does, on their staff that they can go out and do inspections. They take complaints from the general public. If you claim that you have a bad repair, you can complain to the Division of Vehicle Safety for the Department of Motor Vehicles, and they will be able to determine whether or not that there was a proper repair, and if not, they can go back and fine or penalize the licensed repair shop. So I think it would be very important to use a licensed repair facility. Ask your coworkers and friends, where do you go? You know, some of my kids don't live in this area anymore, so they've relocated to new areas. And what I would say to them is, and have said to them, is check with your people that you work with, or your friends and stuff. Where do they take their cars? What's been their experience? Look online. Don't rely completely on online reviews for the places, but but take a look. Don't necessarily find the cheapest place. Cheapest is not always the best. Make sure that you get an estimate for any repairs prior to the work being done. In New York State, the repair shop is prohibited from doing repairs that were not prior authorized by the consumer. Make sure you know how much you're going to be charged, and make sure that your instructions are clear as to what you have agreed to do and what you have agreed not to do. After the repair is done, make sure that you get a written invoice, even if it's a warranty repair. Make sure that you get the sheet that says exactly what was done. For those of you that have purchased vehicles or are purchasing vehicles, New York has a thing called the New York Lemon Law. The New York Lemon Law applies to both new and used vehicles, but it's for new vehicles, the warranty is up to 18,000 miles. For used vehicles, and understand, it's been a long time since the statute has been amended in New York from the time that it was enacted. And the used car lemon law applies up to vehicles with 100,000 miles. I'm seeing vehicles that are being offered for sale or being purchased that are in really good shape, that have well in excess of 100,000 miles. And understand, the New York Lemon Law only applies to vehicles sold up to 100,000 miles. So if you buy a vehicle with 125,000 miles on it, it does not have a Lemon Law, a statutory, legally imposed warranty. Understand also that the warranty that Lemon Law provides is a minimum warranty. Many manufacturers' warranties are well in excess of the New York Lemon Law warranty. However, the difference between a manufacturer's warranty and a Lemon Law warranty is that the option that the manufacturer provides is usually simply for repair or replacement of the defective item. Whereas if the car is defective enough, under New York's Lemon Law warranty, the consumer would be entitled to a financial refund for the amount of that you paid for the vehicle. One of the aspects of the New York lemon law, both new and used, is that if the dealer or the dealer or manufacturer is in violation of the lemon law, in other words, the buyer gets a defective vehicle that falls within the parameters of the lemon law, there is an arbitration process where the purchaser can go through lemon law arbitration in their local area, usually in the county where they live or have the vehicle. And the lemon law arbitration process would allow the purchaser to show why they believe that their vehicle is a lemon and why they should be entitled to a refund. And the dealer, of course, can give them their opportunity to show that it is not a defect and that it's not a lemon law car and that they shouldn't have to give the person their money back. And then an arbitrator decides that case. And I know that over the years, historically, I haven't looked at in the last year or two, but the percentages of recovery are roughly that 2/3 of the time the consumers have won. It's in the 60% range for vehicles that actually go through the lemon law arbitration process. So that's something that somebody can consider. So let's talk about those two types of warranties. First of all, the new car. There are two distinct warranties: new car lemon law, used car lemon law. New car lemon law applies to consumers who purchase a vehicle that is used primarily for personal, family, or household use, not for business use. And what that means primarily is that it's for 50% of the time or over that the vehicle is used for personal, family use. So it could be kind of a hybrid, use it partially for work, partially for personal, but if it's more personal than work, then it would fall within the lemon law warranty. What does it cover? It covers all motor vehicles, cars, trucks, motorcycles. It does not apply to off-road vehicles, ATVs. It applies to vehicles that are purchased, leased, or transferred in New York State within the first 18,000 miles or 2 years, whichever comes first. The vehicle must be registered in New York State within a reasonable period of time. For example, technically, if you purchase the vehicle outside of New York State, but it is registered in New York State within a reasonable period of time, it would apply. It does cover motorhomes, but only the motor part of the motorhome. It doesn't apply to the stove or the refrigerator that might be in a motorhome. It's the drivetrain that it would apply to. Again, the warranty is 18,000 miles of operation or 2 years from date of original delivery, whichever comes first. And what the obligation of the consumer is to report the nonconformity. And we'll talk about nonconformity in a second. But you must report the nonconformity to the manufacturer or the dealer or the manufacturer's agent, who happens to be the dealer usually. What the requirement is that the manufacturer's agent, typically the dealer, is required to correct the vehicle at no charge, even though the repairs may take place outside the time period. So let's say you're at, the defect occurs at 17,000 miles. You notify the dealer. Even though you go over the 18,000 miles, they're still required to repair it. Or if they repair it, but it isn't a good repair, in other words, the light comes back on again, a few hundred miles later, you bring it back in, light comes on again, you go over the 18,000 miles, light comes on again. If it's still the same defect, the manufacturer is required to repair it. Repairs must be undertaken within 7 days. If the manufacturer doesn't undertake the repairs, then you can, or offer a refund or a comparable vehicle, you can go through the lemon law arbitration process. Now, what are they required to repair? With a new car, they are required to repair any condition that substantially impairs the value of the vehicle. So that's a pretty broad definition. But if substantially impairs the value, the windshield wipers don't work. Well, that's a substantial impairment of the value of the vehicle. Or there's some type of tick in the engine or something like that. Whatever substantially impairs the value of the vehicle, the dealer, I'm saying dealer, it's the manufacturer with a new car, which happens to be the dealer. They're required to fix it. They're required to fix it 4 or more times. So up to the 4th time, the dealer is required to fix it, and the consumer has to give them the opportunity to fix it. We'll have complaints sometimes that'll come in and say, I took the car in, and the dealer supposedly fixed it, and the light came on again. I want my money back. Well, under New York's lemon law, you're not entitled to your money back because the lemon law doesn't kick in until the dealer has been given the opportunity to repair the vehicle 4 or more times. Or if the vehicle is out of service for 30 or more days. So if it's the one defect, but the dealer has the vehicle and it's out of service for 30 days or more, that triggers the lemon law arbitration process and the refund that the consumer would be entitled to. What are you entitled to return of if the vehicle has a defect that can't be substantial, that substantially impairs the value of the vehicle, that cannot be repaired within 4 attempts or more? Then you're entitled to the full purchase price, and that would also include reimbursement for what you received as a trade-in, because you lost your trade-in vehicle, the vehicle's gone. Any fees or charges associated with it. And the one exception is, with a new car, there is a mileage deduction formula for every mile above 12,000. So I initially started out that the warranty applies up to 18,000 miles, but if you bought the car new and you're over 12,000 miles, then there'll be a reduction in the price. It's a mathematical calculation for the miles above 12,000 divided by 100,000 miles, and that's the percentage of the price that you wouldn't get the full price back. You'd get a slight deduction from that price. What are the consumer's options if the vehicle can't be repaired within that period of time? The vehicle is entitled to, the consumer is entitled to either go through the arbitration program or bring a lawsuit to sue the manufacturer or dealer to get your money back. The program is administered by a third-party arbitration dispute resolution program. You can get the information on our website, the Attorney General, New York State Attorney General's website. Attorney's fees can be awarded, but you don't necessarily need an attorney to go through the process. The arbitration process is less formal than a court proceeding and significantly faster than a court proceeding. And the ultimate resolution by an arbitrator is binding on the parties. So that's the new car lemon law. Let's switch over to the used car lemon law. Substantial differences between the two. Again, it applies to vehicles purchased for family or household use. Off-road vehicles not covered. The purchase price of the vehicle must be over $1,500, but I'll tell you, it's very unlikely that you're going to find a vehicle that would fall within the parameters of the lemon law anyway if it was less than $1,500, because if it was less than $1,500, in all likelihood, it would have significantly more than 100,000 miles, so you would be out of it anyway. But it's vehicles purchased for over $1,500 and less than 100,000 miles. It is only those vehicles purchased from a dealer. It does not apply to a private sale. A dealer is defined as any seller who sells 3 or more used vehicles within 12 months. So the standard's not very high to fall within the definition of a dealer. So if somebody that, they just for kicks and giggles will sell a vehicle on their front yard, they don't have a big lot or anything, but if they sell 3 or more used vehicles within a 12-month period of time, they do fall within the definition of a dealer. It does not apply to banks, it does not apply to businesses that sell vehicles to their employees, and it does not apply to the state of New York that may sell vehicles on a surplus type of sale. What are the warranties? The warranties differ depending on the vehicle that you purchase. If the vehicle has 36,000 miles or less at the time of sale, so by definition it would be between 18,001 miles and 36,000 miles, the warranty period is 90 days, so it's very short, but it's 90 days or 4,000 miles, which comes first. So if you've driven the vehicle for less than 90 days and less than 4,000 miles, the lemon law warranty applies. For those with 36,001 miles up to 80,000 miles, the warranty is 60 days or 3,000 miles, whichever occurs first. And then if you buy a vehicle that is 80,001 miles up to 100,000 miles, the period is very short. It's 30 days or 1,000 miles, whichever comes first. What is covered and what needs to be fixed is much different than a new vehicle. Remember, we talked about it was any defect that substantially impairs the value of the vehicle. Well, under the used car, it's specific covered parts must be covered. The covered parts that are covered under the used car lemon law are engine, transmission, drive axle, major components of the brakes. It's not things that wear out like brake pads and things like that. It's the major components. And those defects, those covered parts must have a defect that substantially impairs the value of the vehicle. It does not include tune-ups. It does not include valves and rings, because those things wear out. Oil consumption. It does not cover loss of time, inconvenience, any other types of damages. And what happens if it is one of these major components that fails within the warranty period? The consumer should notify the dealer immediately. The dealer has to be given, like a new car, the used car dealer must be given a reasonable opportunity to repair. And under the new car, the reasonable opportunity was 4 or more. Under the used car, it's 3 or more. So at least 3 repair attempts, or 15 days out of service for that defect, except in the instance where the 15 days includes a period of time where the dealer is unable to obtain parts. Then that 15-day can be extended to a maximum of 45 days. So if it takes a little while for the dealer to get the parts, the 15-day period would extend out. The dealer's obligation is to fix the defect. If the defect cannot be fixed, then the dealer must agree to accept the vehicle back and pay a full refund. That's the requirements of it. If there is a problem with a particular vehicle or a particular repair with the vehicle, we would encourage you to contact the Division of Vehicle Safety with the Department of Motor Vehicles. You may also contact our office, the New York State Attorney General's office, and we would be glad to try and assist and give you some guidance. If you go through the lemon law warranty process, the information is available on our website, the New York State Attorney General's website, at ag.ny.gov. And you can look up, that's the general page, and you can look up automobile issues, look up lemon law, and we have a booklet that will give you some guidance. We have the forms available if you want to file a lemon law arbitration claim, and we could assist you with that. Understand that going into the arbitration process, the other side, the dealer, is going to come in through with defenses to try to defend the case. Some things that I have seen happen is they're going to claim that the damage was due to abuse, not through not properly operating the vehicle, or that the vehicle was neglected. In other words, the engine blew because you didn't put oil in it. Then they would not be responsible if the defect was caused by the consumer or some unauthorized alteration of the vehicle. They may come in and say, oh, you know, that's just a small problem. That doesn't substantially impair the value of the vehicle. They're going to claim that, sometimes they will claim that, we fixed the thing that went wrong during the warranty period. This thing that's now wrong with your vehicle is something new, and it unfortunately occurred outside the warranty period, and we're not obligated to fix it. So I only say that to consumers so that you know that that's the possibility going in, especially if you're outside the warranty period. So you want to make sure that you have appropriate proof for the arbitrator or for the judge, depending on whether you go through arbitration or the court, and show to them, no, this is the same thing that was wrong before, it just did not get fixed properly. So you want to make sure that you're aware that that's the possibility that happens. If you ever have a problem with this or any other consumer-related matter, we would be glad to assist you. There's staff in the Attorney General's office that answers consumer complaints. If you have a question about a car repair or a car purchase, a lemon law, or you have a complaint, feel free to contact us. We have complaint forms. You may want to just fill out a complaint form. You can fill them out online now. Fill out a complaint form, send up any backup information that you might have, copy of your contract, a copy of your repair statements, invoices that you receive for each repair, and file the complaint with us. In the initial instance, we'll forward the complaint to the business and say to them, we have a complaint here complaining about purchase of a vehicle. What's your side of the story? And we can attempt to try to mediate a resolution to it. If that's not successful, consumers always have the option to consult their private attorney as to what their different options may be. Also, you can fill out your lemon law arbitration forms. Our office does the initial review of them. Not in Binghamton, we have an actual lemon law arbitration unit. They look at it, they make sure all the I's are dotted or T's are crossed, make sure that you have the vehicle, it's within the warranty period, that you gave the dealership a reasonable number of attempts to repair the vehicle. And if we see if all that is filled out properly and the proper documentation is attached, then it gets shipped out to the third-party lemon law arbitration program, and that they will then schedule the arbitration and hold the hearing so that a decision can then be made. Again, if you ever have any problems, please feel free to contact our office. For those of you watching this, we're in the Binghamton Regional Office that covers Tompkins County, so you can contact us in Binghamton, and we'd be glad to help you out. Again, I want to put out the advertisement next month, which will be in September, the second Thursday of the month in September. I don't have the exact date in front of me. We are going to be having a landlord-tenant consumer issue program. And again, the law has changed. It has exploded. There's all kinds of changes that have occurred, providing additional tenants' rights And we'll go through all of those options, as many of them as we can handle, and handle your questions related to that. A lot of the law needs to be fleshed out yet. No courts have made some decisions on any of those changes that have occurred yet, so we'll talk about those and have both landlords and tenants aware of what their rights and responsibilities are when it comes to that. So until then, thank you for those who've attended, and we hope to see as many of you as we can next month. Thank you.